Hi guys, Assalamualaikum. So today we're gonna do our third video, which is we're gonna talk about tiers, right? So let me quickly share my screen, right? So we've got the 7 criteria, and this is basically criteria number 3. The criteria number 3 understands that you know what is the area that you're buying, what is the characteristic, and basically make sure that ultimately when you buy, we have 3 tiers, right? Tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. When you buy each tier, you never overpay. But you don't know whether you overpay or not unless you understand what is the area tier of what the area that you are buying as of now, right? So, and like I said, that's the third rule. We've learned about new versus old in the last 2 videos, and then we talk about the mean and median in the last video. And today we're going to be talking about tier, right? And the objective of this is really, once you understand what is the characteristic of tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 area, just make sure you never overpay, right? So that's the most important thing. If you don't overpay, everything is okay. You overpay, you have every other strategy right, you're also done, right? So to put it simply. So guys, so we basically decided every area into 3 tiers. Basically, you got tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3. Now, so if I were to give a brief summary or shortcut, right? How do you understand this concept of area tier? Okay, tier 1 is the area whereby you have a lot of international tenants. You have a lot of international people staying in those areas. So what are areas of tier 1? Monkiara, Bangsa, KLCC, Bukit Bintang, latest one being TRX and Bangsa South, right? So these are all part of tier 1. And the characteristic here is that you have a lot of non-Malaysians there. When I say non-Malaysian, I'm referring to expats, not your, labor from Bangladesh or Indonesia. Right. So those are expats too, but those are different kind of expat, right? So you are talking about the Masalay and the Japan and the Koreans of the world, right? So those are tier 1. And number 2 characteristic of tier 1 area is that there is no limit in terms of how high of a rental, right? So for example, in Mount Kiara, the expensive condos you can rent, 12,000, 15,000 to stay in a condo, guys, right? But you won't be able to get those kind of prices in Sentul. It doesn't make sense, right? So in Mount Kiara, people are willing to pay 15,000, 13,000 for a condo. In Bangsa, people are willing to pay even more. KCC, people are willing to pay even more, right? So there's always no limit when it comes to rentability in tier 1. Now, tier 2 plus is an area whereby majority of the time people stay there are locals, and the orang cakap the T20 and the M70, the M60 to M80 and T20 would often want to stay in those areas. So basically, orang local ada duit akan duduk dekat tier 2 area. So what are tier 2 areas? Taman Tun Dr. Ismail, Bandar Utama, Taman Sara Utama, Shah Alam, Bangi, right? So Cheras, right? So these are all part of tier 2 area. And the reason why, even though these people earn 1 million a year, they don't want to go stay in Mount Kiara simply because I want to stay in SS2 because my favorite char kway teow is there, right? Like my friend, gaji 40,000 sebulan, orang Melayu, he stays in Shah Alam because he likes Shah Alam. Senang pergi masjid, makanan halal banyak, a lot of our Petronas friends, they like to stay in Wangsa Maju, right? Even though they can afford to go and stay in Bangsa, tapi they stay in Wangsa Maju because why? Sekolah anak senang, makan best, and all of that, right? So orang lokal ada duit will stay in tier 2. Then the last tier is that orang lokal yang tak berapa berduit sangat will actually stay in tier 3, right? So that means local guys with not much disposable income. So that means the B50 and below, right? B50, M60 and below, and B40, right? They all stay in tier 3 areas. So these are your some parts of Kajang, Semenyi, Rawang, Serendah, So these are all part of tier 3 punya area. So once you understand the characteristic, ada masalah rental very high, tier 1. Okay. Local area, rumah mahal, right? Like Bangi, right? Like PJ, right? Bandar Utama. Properties are very expensive, rumah mahal. Tapi rental cheap, 2,000, 3,000 pun boleh. Tapi nak beli 1.5 juta, 1.5 million just to buy the property. And tier 3, typically you can find a lot of landed property below RM500,000 in tier 3, right? So these are the characteristics of this area. So now, so that's why the rule of thumb here, which a lot of people don't realize and they make this mistake here, is that they don't follow area punya rule and tier, right? So that's why they lose money. So for example, for rental, tier 1 will always be more expensive than tier 2, and tier 2 will always be more expensive than tier 3. That's the order of things, dia punya peraturan, right? Property price, by right, tier 1 should be more expensive than tier 2, and tier 2 should be more expensive than tier 3, right? But however, today, you see area like PG, you see area like Bandar Utama, their property price is more expensive than Mont Kiara, even though Mont Kiara is tier 1. Why? A lot of locals love staying there, they don't care about price, they just like to stay there. So therefore, they pay a premium to stay in PG. They pay a premium to stay in Bandar Utama, right? And by right, tier 3 properties cannot be more expensive than tier 2 or tier 1. So the biggest mistake a lot of people make here is that you pay to buy a property in tier 3, but you pay tier 2 price point, right? That's where you begin to lose money. Or you pay tier 2 price, tier 1 price point, tapi to buy area of tier 2 or tier 3, right? So the moment you masuk that property or buy that property at the wrong price, that's where, for example, there's a possibility that you will not make money, you could even lose money, which means from a capital appreciation point of view, it's not going to be great. Now, so which property will be able to make money? Then the answer is that from appreciation or capital gain point of view, which is the last point, is that it doesn't matter. You can buy tier 1 make money, you can buy tier 2 make money, you can buy tier 3 also make money, right? As long as you buy tier 1 at tier 1 price point, you buy tier 2 at tier 2 price point and below, and you buy tier 3 at tier 3 price point, not tier 2 price point, right? You just make sure that you pay as per your tier, don't overpay, all right? So like I said, these are all, for example, example of tier jumpers, right? So you got places like Park Residence, right, who went from tier 3 many years ago, Kampung Kerinci je, but because of existence of booster, which we're going to learn next video, right, was able to jump from tier 3 to now become tier 1. Therefore, the value of the property went from 380,000 all the way to 1.2 million, right? Even the old property next door went from 250 to 650,000 in less than 10 years. So when you buy into an area, and let's say, for example, last time you buy tier 3, now jump to tier 2, then you make above average capital gain, you tend to make above average cash flow as well. So you want to find area that can potentially jump tier. So remember, guys, you want to buy into an area that possibly will be able to jump tier. Because that's when you make significant level of capital gains, right? So then the other example here is the landed property called Desa Park City, right? In 2009, I could have bought this place called Xenia for 650,000, didn't buy it because, you know, at that point of time, Kepung kan. Siapa nak beli kat Kepung? But today, Desa Park City is no longer, orang cakap is labeled as Kepung. Desa Park City is Desa Park City, Kepung is Kepung. Right, so property price went from 650 to 2.4 million. So one property you buy for 650 because it jumped tier from 650, okay, it went to 2.4 million. Can you imagine, guys? You buy one property, you make 1.8 million in 10 years. Boom. You know, I cannot brain, but this is exactly what has happened, which is why, like I said, there are a lot of this theory I don't know when I was investing, but today I understand, and therefore I understand the 7 criteria. I know what to buy today. But you know, 2009, 2010, I don't understand what is tier. I don't understand what is a tiering jumper. I don't understand what's the premium of new versus old. I don't understand median, right? So therefore, I don't make as much as people who understand it. Okay. Now, there are a couple of exceptions of above average capital gain, but they didn't jump tier, and that is because of scarcity. That means so little supply. In this particular case, you have this condo called 5 Stone. This is in PJ. Went from 480 ringgit per square foot a few years ago to now roughly about 700 to 800 ringgit per square foot, right? So this property, even though you buy at tier 1 price, at many years ago, 480 is a tier 1 price point, and I thought at that point of time, sure cannot make money lah. At that point of time, you can buy Mount Kera for also 500 ringgit per square foot. Why the hell do you want to buy PJ at also almost 500 ringgit per square foot? So I was wrong because of why this property is unique. There's only one property that is like this. And today, a lot of second generation in PJ, whereby parents are staying nearby PJ, they end up buying 5 stones for own stay simply because they want to be nearby to their parents, but at the same time not staying together, but near enough. Drive 5 to 10 minutes, can visit them already. Okay, so in areas whereby it's very mature, right? Not many supply. A lot of people love to buy for own stay in tier 2. You can see property selling at tier 1 price point and even still go up, despite, you are buying in tier 2, but you pay tier 1 price. In this particular case, the exception here is that 5 stones, one of those property whereby is tier 2 selling at tier 1 price point, but still went up in value simply because of scarcity, limited supply, which is actually part of our rule, right? So today, what are the properties that we are buying? How do they compare compared to tier? We've always shown these 4 properties, right? So just to share a little bit, this one, the first property that we are basically buying a tier 1 location, but we are buying at tier 2 price point. Because why? Averagely, tier 1 is about 900,000 to 1 billion. We're buying 600,000, right? So we're buying at tier 2 prices, right? So this one, we're buying tier 2 at tier 3 price point for second property. The grade B one, we are actually buying tier 1 at tier 2 price. And this one, grade B, we're buying tier 2 at tier 2 price point. So therefore, we make sure we never overpay. We always want to underpay versus your tier. So guys, I hope you enjoyed the lesson today. In summary, area tier, you got tier 1 to tier 3. You really don't want to overpay in any way. You want to watch out for tier jumpers, because if you can jump from tier 2 to tier 3 to tier 2, you'll make a lot of money. And if you jump from tier 3 to tier 1, then you become like part residents, 400,000 went to 1.2 million, right? But ultimately, there are always exceptions to this particular rule. And what is the exception? If you are buying to a super mature area like PJ, Bandar Utama, whereby you've got really limited supply of property or new property, right? You can sell scarcity, and therefore you have to pay a premium to go and stay there. So therefore, even if you buy tier 2 area, tapi you pay tier 1 price point, doesn't mean you lose money, right? Simply because there's just no other choice or option because there's no supply, right? So I hope you enjoyed the session. And the next class, we're going to be talking about booster. Why did Kampung Kerinci becomes Bangsa South? And some property went up double and triple in value. Inshallah, see you in the next video. Take care. Assalamualaikum.